Hey everybody. Simone and I'd also too like to acknowledge the traditional owners whose land we meet on today, elders past, present and emerging, and especially acknowledge those Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are with us today in the room. So my job's really quite simple. I'm just going to introduce the Institute and try and let everyone know sort of what size and scale it is that we work on, and then I'm going to hand over to Simone to talk about the issues of the topics. Yep. So the Institute of Urban Indigenous Health, established in 2008 by agreement, there's 4 Aboriginal medical services in the southeast corner of Queensland. There was a need to take action because the Aboriginal communities had moved and there was thin markets within the inner city of it. So the Institute's whole idea was to move out to the geographic areas where there was failure and gaps in service delivery of both clinical services and wraparound services. The scale of closing the gap meant that the best alternate was to do it at a region-wide basis rather than individual organisation basis, and the Institute is a company limited by guarantee under the Act. From 5 clinics back then in 2008, the Institute has grown. We now have 20 clinics established across the same footprint, which makes us the largest provider of comprehensive primary health care, wraparound service to Aboriginal people nationally. We think that we have services which include primary health care, dental, maternal, child health, early childhood development, family wellbeing, preventative health, health promotion, substance abuse, mental health, aged care, disabilities now coming online. From a base of clinical services, we now think we've got comprehensive wraparound services for the communities in South East Queensland as well. We have an active patient load of 35,000 Aboriginal clients, and the actual footprint we service that needs to be upgraded to 65,000 roughly Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander clients at the last census. And we employ collectively between the 4 member organisations and the regional body in excess of 1,000 qualified professionals. Over 65% are Aboriginal Torres Strait Islanders, so workforce as well we're building. That's really quickly where we are. Sunshine Coast, out west to the range and down to the border. And in that catchment, we nearly 40% of the total Queensland population, and the 65,000 now. It makes us, there's more Aboriginal people in the southeast corner of Queensland than there is in the whole of Victoria, the whole of South Australia, and growing at the most rapidly. All the black dots on the board there are where our clinics have expanded to. So every one of our clinics has a patient load in excess of 2,000 clients, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander targeted, and that's probably it. I'll introduce Simone now, who I could talk through that, but I think for time things, we'll just pass over to Simone. And that do?
Yep.
Cool.
Is it this one?
Yeah, that one. That's him.
Thank you. As Matt said, my name is Simone Matthews. Please excuse my voice, I have the flu. 7 months ago, I was brought on by the Institute to provide and maintain a health justice partnership who potentially will service all of our 65,000 clients, including our vulnerable families and our elder groups. I guess when we look at this, the best thing I can say is, given we're only new, we're 7 months old, myself as a lawyer, I have 1 colleague who is part-time, so potentially we have 1.7 lawyers for potentially 35,000 vulnerable families. When it first came to our attention that we may have a serious issue in relation to our elders within the South East Queensland catchment, I guess firstly what we'd like to say, these are not our elders who are living traditionally, but these are elders who are dispersed throughout all of South East Queensland in what I call our concrete jungles. I guess the first thing we needed to think about was how do we deal specifically with our isolation issues, insofar as how do we bring services to our Indigenous elders without compromising their safety. Now, as Matt just explained, we have a significant and serious network of services and allied services that provide a gamut of amazing opportunities to our elders and vulnerable families. When addressing isolation, we are very lucky insofar as our elders have an opportunity each week to come together in a safe environment where their safety is not compromised, to have some much needed respite that they obviously aren't getting at home. This then provides a great opportunity for myself as our lawyer and my colleague to provide our health justice services and our legal services as lawyers in a guise that's under the umbrella of either respite, aged care or medical appointments. Health justice partnerships throughout Australia are becoming more common. However, we feel ours is very unique and specific in some ways. Whilst most health justice partnerships and other organisations bring in lawyers, we're actually woven into the very fabric that is the Institute of Urban Indigenous Health. With that, we're able to create with our elders a face of familiarity and trust. We work primarily with all our other collaborative services throughout IUIH. And it is proving to be successful. However, I can't stand here and say that I am an authority after 7 months on elder abuse, but it is something that we definitely want to tackle. At number 3, we're hoping to use a two-pronged approach. First, the immediate approach is obviously working with our elders and our older generation. It is a topic after my own heart, I guess. It is my favourite day of the week on Thursdays and Fridays when I get to go into these elder groups and work with our elders and our older members. I provide education. This education, though, is done somewhat differently to what I guess a conventional lawyer would do. It is done by yarning circles. Our education is very informal. One of the main priorities that I guess when dealing with our elder abuse issue that I wanted to make sure that I could sustain was how do we come in and not tarnish their autonomy and also definitely their right to self-determination. This is very important with me. It's something that I'm still trying to, I guess, perfect, and I guess as it becomes more apparent, we'll change our focus somewhat. And long term, we deal with our vulnerable families through our family wellbeing services and through medical services. In relation to our legal referrals, they come through our GPs or our family wellbeing services. And when looking at elder abuse, we thought that one of the best things we could do on a long-term basis was look intergenerationally at our younger families through our family wellbeing services and look primarily at those underlying legal issues that are maybe bringing on the elder abuse in the first place. As many have said today, a lot of our elders are raising grandchildren, and whether that be family or even kin, there's also tenancy issues. So how do we deal with young people and tenancy issues, keeping them from becoming transient, that they're not having to go home to mum and dad or to grandma and granddad or other kin family members and bringing their legal issues with them? How do we also teach young women how to better protect themselves from sexually transmitted debts? So that comes in with their families to be able to eradicate that issue that they are going to hurt or maybe inflict abuse on their elders or their family members in order to be able to pay those debts. And how do we also deal with all those intergenerational trauma that is still so rightly in communities? And I guess because my time's nearly up, when we look at the right to self-determination and autonomy, I think too one of the biggest hurdles we're going to face too is cultural norms, but also everyone has a right to autonomy and to make their own mistakes. So where do we draw a line, I guess, culturally in relation to our Indigenous communities to allow them to make those mistakes, but then also be able to go, where do we step in because it is needed and it is untouched and it is something that hasn't been spoken about before. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simone. Does anyone have any questions?
Thanks very much, Simone. That was very interesting. I'd wonder if you could talk to us a bit about what you find are the particular challenges of raising the issue of abuse. Because in the context of my contact with Indigenous people, it's very, very hard to actually get the topic up for discussion. But then I'm not the right sort of person.
That's a good question. I guess ideally there would not be one, answer depending upon each different cultural group. However, like I said, when we brought together our health justice partnership, we knew that we had to leave all egos as lawyers out the door. So I guess the first thing that I thought to do was, how do I build trust? and how do I bring trust in to these elder groups so that they understood that I wasn't with the department, that I'm not police, and that I am actually a part of IUI. IUI is very trusted, and we have an amazing organisation and an amazing culture and amazing reputation in South East Queensland. So it was when I built a relationship with our elders that they realised I was within that fabric of IUI, that trust came, and that it was more our yarning circles as well, making them understand that I was there for them and that I was there to help them. And that's something that I guess too, when we look at elders, that they haven't had before and that it's been lacking in community. So it's all about that trust and this familiarity of this face as well.
Any more questions?
Simone, Diane Crichton.
Hi, Diane.
I've worked in AIDS and disability, health, age and disability for a long, long time. I know Graham, I know Mr Butler, just can't remember his first name now. Getting the trust of Aboriginal people is right under your nose. It's
Yes.
it's the family, the kin.
Yes.
I can't iterate that as much as I've done over the last 21 years with mainstream service providers as a hack development officer and so forth. You can't go past the family. You must go to the family.
Yes.
I know you've got the yarn up groups, we've got the elders groups, we've got all of those, but they will be individuals when they sit at those yarn up tables or,
Yes.
you know, the outings and whatever, the camps and so forth. You got to deal with it with the family, because the head of the family is the matriarch
Yes.
who looks after everything. And then when that's all exhausted, then you go to the other stuff, you know, the legal stuff, or you bring in that, you know, the legal services, the Aboriginal reps from legal service, health, the whole lot. We're so poor, our people. I don't have to tell you people that. We're born into poverty and we die into poverty. And it's money that makes the abuse today. I think there was a heading there saying, you know, you abuse an elder, you abuse in culture. How very true. So, but it's poverty. I'm dealing with people now with Meals on Wheels service, our elders, who's living in fear of their own children with this ice epidemic. I knock on the door. Who's there? Diane, Meals on Wheels. Open the door for me. Very cautiously, because they're living in fear of their own kids. And I'm saying to them, have you got one of your children that's not affected by drugs, the ice epidemic, living in your garage here, unbeknownst to the Department of Housing? They got nowhere else to go. Yes. So please stay with our families. The kinship group is the strength base for you. Exhaust all of that, then go out looking for all the people in the sector, from health, age, you know, health and wherever, legal, the whole lot. And that's the generational change stuff that you'd be looking for.
Yes.
But while we're still alive, my generation, I'm part of all of that welfare stuff, Red on mission, education on mission. Yeah, please just, yeah, the change is going to come for you as a young person, but it's a little while. You've got to wait for it.
Yes, definitely, I agree.